Hello and welcome back. My name is Marta and today I'm starting a new series called Worth the Wait. So at the end of the summer I have to move out of this house and I'm probably going to move back home for a while, back to my parents, which means moving countries. And I have accumulated a number of books. And this series is going to help me figure out if they're worth the wait in my suitcase, but also worth the money that it's going to cost me to ship them back home. I'm very excited to delve into my shelves. Some of these books I have had since before I moved to Ireland, which is almost 3 years ago. Not too many though. But I have not really thought that much about what books I was buying or how many books I was buying. And not that it's super out of control, but I've counted and we are starting the series with 52 books. Now, this series is inspired by others like Read It or Unhaul It that Emily Fox does, or Becca's Shelve It or Scrap It, with the difference that here, reading a book isn't necessarily the end of the road, because if I read a book, I still have to decide if it is worth the wait. And I guess what I'm interested in is that I'm not really going to be only exploring my reading taste and my purchasing habits, but my book collecting tendencies, if you will, because I have some books that I know I'm going to keep even if I don't read by the end of the summer, and some that I have read and now I know I love them so much that they need to stay with me. So yeah, the series is going to include some reading vlog portions, some unhaul. I mean, I guess I'm gonna tell you if I buy more books, but I really shouldn't. And yeah, so to begin with, I'll just give you a little overview of what my shelves look like at the moment. So on my bedside table, this is a library book, doesn't count. And here we have these two. That's kind of currently reading, but I have paused it. And then The Vegetarian's been paused since November, so we're not going to talk about it. This one here, Babel, is borrowed from a friend, and the rest of them I bought during a festival recently. Not the wisest of choices, but they're also pretty, and these two are signed. So, oops. Over here we have my main shelf. This is kind of alphabetical by author surname, but read and unread books are all together. I was thinking that a good first step might be to separate my read and unread books. I think that'd be helpful. These here are books that I read for one of my classes in college, and I think I want to have a little segment in one of these vlogs talking about them and making the decision of whether to keep them or not. They're all annotated, which is cool, but do I need them all? Are they all worth the wait? I'm not sure. Oh no. So as you will see shortly, not that many books read. Fortunately or unfortunately. Because if I've read them, it's more likely that I'm attached, which is bad for my suitcase issues. But it also means, I'm getting a lot more books than I'm reading, which aren't we all? So here we have two red piles. One I was showing you is books I read for college, and then this is a pile of other red books, and then we go back to my shelf. I moved what was over my bed, so now again we are in alphabetical order by author surname. Okay, we're gonna try and ignore this weird reflection. I don't know what's happened to my camera, but I hope it's not too distracting. I thought it was about time that we did a little bit of unhauling because we've a really big number that we need to try and get down. And so I thought I'd start with kind of some easy picks that don't require me to ponder too much to get rid of. The first of them is The Sellout. Can you see? By Paul Beatty. This is something that I bought because it was on one of my reading lists at the start of the academic year, and it turned out that that list hadn't been updated, and this wasn't actually part of the kind of lesson plan this year. So it feels really easy to get rid of. This is a more humorous satire type literary fiction. That's not something that I would particularly lean toward. And because it was never my own interest that led me to this book, it feels easy to part ways with it. And then the second one, it was actually a bit harder to decide. This is Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb. It's the first in the Live Ship Traders, but it's the fourth book overall in the realm of the Elderlings, which is a series that I'm in the middle of. This is actually the next book I'm meant to read. But this is like a super heavy kind of trade paperback, and it's a proof that I found in one of those get one, like leave one, take one type shelves in college. So this just kind of like a too heavy version of this book. I've agreed with my friend. My best friend also loves this series, and we've kind of been reading it sort of together. But he's gonna keep this, so I can part ways with it without really parting ways with it. That may be cheating, but I don't really mind. Just because I think it's so cool. This book came out in 1998. This is as old as I am, and somehow a proof of it. So this is like 26, 27 years old, which is kind of mad that I just happened to find it in one of those like free bookshelves. I'm still gonna read it. I am attempting to read it soon, but it might be silly to not want to read this one because of the edition, but it is truly so heavy, and I would only ever want to read this if it was like laying down flat somewhere. Like, it's just not nice to be holding up. So I've actually requested the most recent edition from the library, so I'm gonna try and read that. And yeah, I'm really am I really excited? I've been putting this off for a while because, like, reading the book, I mean, because I love the first trilogy, which is the Farseer trilogy. Yes, I love it so much. That's the one that starts with Assassin's Apprentice, and this is set in the same world, but it follows a completely different set of characters. It's a very, you know, piratey type book, and I'm not sure I'm gonna love it as much, but I really like Robin Hobb's writing style, and I do want to progress through the series. But this actually doesn't look that bad. The normal B paperback of this is almost 900 pages, which is like 3 times the size of my average book length. But yeah, my friend is gonna be adopting this so I can part ways. So we're now down to 50. I'm moving the unhaul pile up here, and now we just have 50 books to go. So I finished 2 books from my own shelves in May, and I thought I would just let you know what I thought about them and if I think they're worth the wait or not. So the first one is Wicked by Sarah Shepard. This is the 5th book in the Pretty Little Liars series, and if there's one thing about me, I love the Pretty Little Liars show. Me and my sister, it's one of our favourite things. We love watching it together. We love watching these recap videos on YouTube that just explain the whole show to you, even though we know the whole show. And I read the first 4, I think, last year, and I thought I'd pick it back up, and there's something so camp about this edition. The book was fun. They're organized in like arcs of 4, so this is the first one where there's like a new A. I'm assuming people are familiar with Pretty Little Liars, but if you're not, it's a group of girls, their best friend disappears, and later her body is found, and they start getting anonymous text messages from this person who signs A, who's basically threatening to expose all their deepest, darkest secrets, even though they're like 14. And these books were coming out like early 2000s, so they're very off their time. I don't think anyone would like these now if you don't have an attachment to the series like I do. But they're good fun, and I'm going to continue with the series. I might actually pick book 6 kind of soon, but I know there's no way I can justify keeping this. Even though I like, the only reason I bought it, I got it secondhand, and I had been listening to the audiobooks for the previous books, but suddenly I couldn't find them anywhere. So I found this secondhand and I thought might as well. And there's a part of me that wants to collect the 16 book series because I think the covers are so fun. But I don't have the first 4. Now I've read them. I don't know that I'll ever reread this series. I'm like not even halfway through it. There's 16 books. And committing to accumulating that amount of books for a series that I enjoy, but only in a very like nostalgic, quick, fun reads sort of way. So I know I'm gonna have to get rid of it, but I don't want to. I don't want to. And I've been thinking about it. I knew I was gonna film this clip, and I've been like bartering with myself, being like, maybe you could just, you know, keep like try and get this set of 4, so like book 5 to book 8, and you know, just have like a few of them. But yeah, I have some attachment to it, even though like committing to having 16 books is kind of crazy. But here we go. It's going on the maybe pile for now. You know what? I'm gonna keep it for now. But in 2 months, when I have to contend with the massive parcel that I'm gonna need to send home, I'm probably gonna get rid of it then, but not now. Okay? Whatever. I do what I want. Not that any of you really would care that much, but anyway, that's the plan. And then the second book is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, which I read for my portfolio, like dissertation type work. And I was so glad I was able to fit it in for that, because I was really keen to read it. I've read Normal People and Conversations with Friends, and didn't really like either, but it's been a few years, and I saw Sally Rooney. I was working at a festival recently, and she came to do some events, and I heard her speak of this book and also read from this book. And Sally Rooney, turns out, I didn't know, she's an amazing performer of her own work. Also, she signed it for me, so there's no way I'm getting rid of it. But besides that, I feel like I took a risk because I bought it full price when I didn't think I was going to, because she was there and I thought it was cool to get it signed as a kind of memory of the festival. But then I've actually really enjoyed this. I think this is, guys, I think this is really good. Not me acting as if I'm discovering something when she's a massive best-selling author these days. But I think one of the things that did it for me here is the complexity of all the different relationships. I think something like Normal People felt a bit too insular, just the one relationship, and also I was just frustrated that they wouldn't communicate with each other the whole way through. But this feels much more complex. The characters feel so lived in to me. If you don't know, which you probably do, it's about 2 brothers in the aftermath of their father's death. They're 10 years apart, they don't really know how to relate to each other, and it's just them trying to navigate this grief, trying to figure out what their relationship with each other is, and also the relationships to the women in their lives. I think Sally portrayed the grief, but also just this depression and feeling of overwhelm from just trying to live your life and feeling like you don't have it figured out, and you don't know how to talk to people, and I don't know. It was really good. It made me cry, which I did not expect. But surprise, someone like Sally Rooney. But yeah, I'm really glad I decided to kind of give it another go. And I'm also keeping this, so we're still at 50 bucks, but a happy 50 bucks. I'm still not panicking, which maybe I should, but not yet. So this concludes the first episode of Worth the Wait. Thanks so much for joining me for the start of this new series. And we've gone from 52 books to 50, so it is a start. We've also read 2 books, and just stay tuned for episode 2. Bye!